Hey guys, restoration guy with you here again. We are working on the rims for the 820. This is one pair of them. We got another pair we're going to do that we ordered in that are new and powder coated, but these are the old ones, and we're going to straighten them up and paint them for the client. Take some dents out, see if we can't smooth some things up. These rims are in really good shape. I've worked on rims that are way worse. But as I do some things, I'll show you how I make them better. A little torching, a little heating if need be. We have the front wheels and the smaller ones to do that are down there too. So, well, let's get to working on them. Alright, I'm going to show you how to get rid of that problem. Now this is a very minor, but it's still going to be the same. I'm going to show you how to do it with a torch, and I'm going to show you how to use the grinder. So, hopefully I can figure out a way to do this where you can watch me. Now this can be done with a lot deeper dent, but this is a small one, so I'm going to show you how to do that, how to fix that. Alright, first of all, I'm going to need heat. And it's kind of noisy, so I hope y'all can hear me. I'm going to take this torch, you're going to heat this up. Right in here, there's that bend. This can be done cold, but this will be a lot easier with heat. Alright, now we got the grinding wheel. Keep in mind some of these angles that you do this at, it will throw crap at you, but that's what you got to do. There you have it. It's important when you do this too, do not expediently cool anything off on this steel like this, because it could cause warping or brittle. If you let things cool down naturally, then you shouldn't have those issues. So don't rapidly cool any of this stuff down when you're trying to shape or fix things like this. Now I'm going to show you this again on another wheel. Alright guys, here's another dent in one of these steel rims. And keep in mind, these techniques that I'm showing you, you can do this on pretty much all steel rims. Now they might be thinner, so they won't take as much heat. But if you see what I'm doing and you watch what I'm doing with the torch, it should be pretty easy for you to copy this. So this is a much smaller rim. So we're going to go down here and we're going to take that out. And the same methods, if I got a chance, if I had one that was bent worse, you can do the same thing. It takes a lot more fight, but you got to be consistent with your heat as you do this. Your hammer's got to be in your hand with the heat. You can't heat it and then go back. You kind of got to do this kind of simultaneously. And I do recommend using a torch versus using a rosebud or something. You can control your heat better with this. Make sure you get your curve. And there you go, guys. That's how you straighten out dents in steel tractor rims. Now, keep in mind that these tractor rims on tractors don't go very fast. You know, maybe 20 miles an hour tops on these old tractors. But on a steel rim, that's a way to straighten it, and it does very well. So you'll need a body hammer and a torch and a good eye. And remember, you're gonna need some coordination. So that's how you do that, or how I do that anyways. And yeah, that's how you straighten these tractor rims. So with that being said, let's look on the other side and see if there's anything that needs to be done there. We have an Audi right there. And to be quite frankly, some of this you can be done without heat. Because sometimes metal is thinner in some places. You don't always have to use heat. Like me personally, I would rather just grind this down a little bit and not heat this up, because we already have some decay here. Let me see if I can show it to you on the camera. Inside of here, we already have some rusting and some pitting already happening on here that I'm not particularly fond of. Let me see if I can't move it down here into the light. We already have some decay and rust in here that you know, we don't want to. I'd rather just try to do that by hand than with the heat. You don't have to. I mean, you can use the heat, but that's just my preference. So I think I'm just going to grind that high off right there. That little high that is right there. I'm just going to take a little grinder and tap it, and it'll be fine. So that's kind of how you straighten these rims. I don't have any really bad ones to show you. I mean, I've straightened some horrible rims, but that's the premise. If you have some steel rims, and just get your torch out and heat it and get a body hammer. And keep in mind, on body hammers, they have this caved top. And you would be surprised, kind of like a dome top. And you'd be surprised how that helps you do metal work and many other things. So get you a set of body hammers. They're good for a lot of things. Okay, I'm gonna finish these rims, guys. That's how you take out little dings and dents in little rims. It's a short video, not tough. That's how you go about that. I'm gonna finish these up, and then I'm gonna scuff them and get them ready for paint. Now we're going to actually sand the inside of these rims. Now they've already been sand blasted, mind you. Okay, that's already been done. Some of this stuff we might take the grinder to make it a little bit better for the primer, but what we're actually going to do now is we're going to sand the metal. Now, why are we going to sand the metal? Well, because we want to put primer on these wheels. And primer, if we sand that, will make them shinier and smoother. We're going to take our, my most favorite grits, 220 DA paper by hand, fold it in half, like so, and we're going to hand sand these. Yeah, we're going to sand this now with some 220 grit. And the reason for doing this is to knock down the highs that were created by the sandblaster when we had them sandblasted. Now this will make the sealer or primer, which we're going to do, and then we're going to block sand the primer and then paint it, or not block sand, just hand sand, to make the paint lay flatter and look smoother. But in any steel that you sandblast, not cast iron because you want it rough, but in any steel that you sandblast, it's a good idea to knock down these little bumpy highs so that your sealer or primer will lay flatter. Alright, I'm going to do this rim and then I'll show you step 2. Now I have a coating that we put on these, everything we sandblast just about. It's not a sealer, it's a rust inhibitor, and we put it on almost everything we sandblast, so I have to use a Scotch-Brite after that for this. So, gotta go over with a Scotch-Brite, knock off any loose dust, make sure the pores are open up good to accept the sealer, the primer, because I'm using primer. Blow that off after you're all done scuffing and sanding, scuffing, and then you're ready to put your primer or sealer and paint it. Actually, on these we're going to prime them because we want them to look really well. Then we'll block sand them again, which you'll see, and then we'll paint them. This is what we're going to be priming our steel rims with. This stuff works really, really well. It fills well. It sands easy, has its own guide coat when you sand. It's very nice. I love it. So let's go paint some rims. Keep in mind, it's very hot here today. It's actually allowing me to do this rather quickly. Alright guys, I wanted to do this one up close so you could see. Now if you're wondering why we haven't really coated the inside with any primer, because I was waiting to see how much was left. A lot of these materials are pretty expensive, so I don't need a lot on the inside because the tube. I just went ahead and did these, so I don't need a lot of primer on the inside of this, because I'm probably going to put sealer over them anyway, then paint them, just because. Or I can, but I don't want to waste much of this, so I have a little bit left, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in here so I don't waste it. But I wanted most of this high build primer to be on the work that I'm going to sand. So we have a little bit left, so we can come in here, we can put it on here, and now we didn't waste anything. That's it, guys. We used it all up. Well, here we are, all primered up. They look nice. They'll be wonderful to sand. They'll be pretty, super shiny. I think we got all of our imperfections filled that we'd be looking for. Should come right out in a sanding. Now I'm going to show you how to sand by hand. This is I have some 3M 320 grit file paper. Excuse me guys, I'm doing this one-handed. Carry a piece off. Basically fold it in half, better than that. And what do? You just sand this with flat fingers until the orange peel is gone. See, we have orange peel, unsanded, somewhat sanded, to sanded. Now once you achieve this, you stop and it's sanded. Now you may ask, is there a faster way? Yes, there is. And I would like to mention that if you're painting with a single stage urethane or acrylic enamel, normally with a sealer, and your paint will cover 320 grit scratches. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. If you're using a base coat clear coat, no, not going to happen. You're going to have to take it down to at least 400. But if you have access to a DA, you can move a lot of this a little bit faster. Put some 320 grit on your DA. And as long as you keep moving this DA as you're doing this, it will not gouge in the it won't gouge. And there you go. Go back by hand with a couple of passes. What you significantly have done by using your DA wherever you can, saved yourself a whole lot of that, because that makes the fingers sore eventually. So use your DA when you can. It'd be never going to be any problem doing something round like this as long as you keep moving. Don't ever just sit there and hold it in one spot. It'll gouge. It'll show up in your paint job. You got to keep things moving when you're using a DA. So, and this will work out just fine. Go over it with it by hand. When you get done with all that, take your red Scotch-Brite, which is about the equivalent of 320 grit scratches. So you can get in your edges and around things that maybe you might have missed so you get good adhesion. And there you go. That's how you sand a lot of things to get ready to paint. So I'm not going to keep the camera on while I do all this. You got the basic idea. When I get done, I'll turn it back on when they're in the paint booth and ready to be painted. Let me add something to that. Something small like these wheels, or these little wheels, you're probably not going to be able to use your DA to help you with anything like this. This is, you know, it just isn't really going to help you. So I just wanted to add that in there. Things that are smaller like this, you're probably not going to find a use to use a DA very well. You're going to have to do that by hand. So just wanted to add that in there. Oh, there we go, guys, in my paint room. Yes, sir, Bob. I have a paint booth, so. Okay, let's get to paint. Okay guys, this is looking through my window of my spray booth, and so you can watch me paint without me getting paint on my camera. Okay guys, if you wondering what it is I just put on there, or what I just put on there is a sealer, two-part sealer. It's kind of loud in here because it's the booth. And why would I put the sealer on even though I've primed it and I've sanded it? Well, these are for any of my bare metal spots that I had. If there was bare metal, I want to put sealer over it before I put my paint. You can also use sealer in a lot of other ways. If you lay it out right, like you're supposed to, you can use it to hide it, what you can say, hide imperfections, or to cover up sanding scratches and stuff. You can use it in that fashion. It's not wise to do that, but that's another way you can do with sealer. If you are trying to do a low budget paint job, you can use sealer for that too. But in this application, I just didn't want any of my sand throughs where I went to steel. I wanted that covered with a nice uniform coat before I applied my paint. Okay guys, that was the very first coat of paint. I'll tell you a few things about that. Now guys, when you're working with very thin paints, this particular yellow that I'm using, it is John Deere yellow, but like I've told you in my other videos, I make this myself. This is the colors from John Deere, but as far as the hardeners, reducers, the things I add to it, that's me. It's not them. This is something we've come up with in what I do, and it really makes the paint do what I want it to do, which is look great and shine and whatnot. Anyway, when you're and it thins it out though, and when you have thinner paint, number one trick I want to tell you that you've got to do when you're dealing with thinner paint, it's going to take more coats. If something would normally take 2 coats, it might take 4 or 5 coats this method. Thinner paints, spread your coats out, you know, don't try to do it in 2 or 3 coats, try to do it in 4 or 5 coats, because all you're going to do is end up with runs. Then you're going to have issues with getting into here, and all those areas need to get paint in there too. So, and with these particular wheels, it's very hard to get paint in there, and sometimes you have to go back with a brush if you're just really particular and want to make sure there's good coverage, which I'm kind of that way. So, but anyway, thin paints, you need to spray more coats and then spread them out. Don't try to glob them all on at once. You'll just wind up in ruin and not get the desirable effect. So, and in all my videos, there are going to be little tips in every one of my videos is something of how the way I do things in my day-to-day and the work that I do. So in every video, there'll be something you should be able to take away from it and apply to yourself. All painters have their own techniques. All painters have their own styles of doing things. So with what I show you in painting, I hope you can take some of my ideas and skills and apply them to yourself. So then about 20 minutes. So after about 20 minutes before you recoat, what you want to be able to do is this. See, I can drag my finger right along here, and it's tacked up to where I can put my next coat on. Now, not all paint is this way. This is a synthetic enamel, I believe, or an enamel style paint. So on a lot of enamels, or even actually some single stage urethanes, that's kind of the rule of thumb. When you can drag your finger across it and it doesn't stop your finger, you're ready for your next coat. Okay guys, that's the second coat. As you can see, it's getting there. It's looking pretty darn nice. Getting nice, uniform, pretty shiny, still kind of transparent, but man, we're getting there. We're gonna have to do this 2 more times, I think, to get the desired thickness, and so the yellow looks like the correct yellow. But we're getting there. And see how the sealer kind of helps out if there were any blemishes. It's really hard to see in here. The lighting from the booth is really, really good. And cameras, I think they're fighting each other. So it's hard to get in a real good picture. Because in the camera, it's actually covered more than what it looks like in the camera. So we're gonna let this sit for another 20 minutes, actually. Now, I know you guys are real curious, you know, I told you what kind of paint it is, but how I mix it and stuff, but I just can't tell you guys yet. You big John Deere guys out there, maybe later on I get enough videos out there, you know, I'll let y'all know my mixing ratios and how I go about doing it, but right now, you're just gonna have to be satisfied with techniques. The gun that I'm using is an HVLP. I've showed this in other videos. This is a really great gun. Let me show it to you. This HVLP by AccuSpray, which I've used a full out of it now, is a really great gun. Okay, I'm shooting at about 30 psi out of this gun to shoot this material. Now, I'm not an HVLP guy normally. When I do base coat, clear coat, stuff like that, I'm how would you say, a low volume, high pressure type of person rather than a high volume, low pressure, because that's what HVLP stands for. HVLP, high volume, low pressure. It takes very little pressure to get you to atomization. But for the tractor paint jobs and for people painting at home, what's nice about using an HVLP, which is one of these like AccuSpray or something, what's nice about these guns is you don't have to have a big honking compressor, you know, that's pushing a ton of air to make this work. And you can get what I'm doing in there, and this is one of the reasons I'm making the videos this way, so that you can see guns and things that you can use with, if all you have is a small compressor like from Home Depot or something, to achieve this type of work that I'm doing. So, and I actually use the HVLP with a lot of single stage stuff because it doesn't take a lot of pressure, and cast iron, it works really well. But the purpose of most of these videos are for you at home so that you could do this yourself. I mean, let's face it, if a lot of you guys knew a little of this, you could have a tractor fixed up yourself, because let me tell you, it's quite pricey to have somebody do this for you. And to, you know, to give it all this level of attention and detail. So you guys got to go back on the tripod for a while I wait for this to tack up and watch me do the third coat. I think I'm going to take my airbrush and get inside of here today. I've done it with the brush before, but I'm waiting on dry times anyway. I think I'll take my airbrush and go in here and airbrush those in. Alright, I'm going to take the camera off for a minute because we're not going to wait quite as long on this last coat. We're pretty well here, guys. Very few see-throughs. Something I'd like to tell you when you're doing this, now is the time. This is the last coat. We're going to do 4 coats. This would be the time to address anything that you would be worried about as a see-through or a holiday or something you missed. We're very, very close. I'm ready. I'm not going to wait quite as long at this because I'm going to put my coat hard, fast, and really thin. And I've changed my my mixture up on my paint for this last coat because the heat here, it's actually gotten a little warmer, and I can do that. So, but as far as the spraying goes, we're going to do one more coat. I know it looks finished, but it's not. It needs one more coat on there, and then we'll be there. We are all done, guys. It's all finished. Looks as slick as glass. Super shiny. Beautiful. Looks really, really good. Looks damn near like powder coat. I mean, well, actually I think it looks better than powder coat. All done. Totally finished. Well, there you guys go. Some beautiful tractor rims. And these actually turned out better than I thought they would. I thought I might have to paint these two again, but turns out I didn't. It turns out they look really good on both sides. Quite pleased with them. So yeah, we're gonna let those go. Those are great. But you know, all the prep work, we were we sandblasted them. We put an anti-rust coating on them. We put really, really high build primer on them and sanded them really well. We took them down to 320 grit scratches, and as you can see, it looks great. I mean, literally. I mean, it looks really, really nice. So high gloss, smooth, very little orange peel, if any. So there we go, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope that y'all learned something and you can take this and use this towards your project and painting and whatever it is you're doing. And until the next video.